The class is being recorded. My name is Dr. Sameh. This is A230A. We're done with Othello, alhamdulillah. Now we're focused on the Duchess of Malfi. Tragedy, or tragedy framework, another set of ideas and ideologies, not very um, different, I promise you, but perhaps the treatment is different. What did we say about the Duchess of Malfi from last time? Remember, finished, earlier before the class ended and to had time to start the Duchess of Malfi. So how much do you still remember about the Duchess of Malfi? Said and did last time. Any ideas? Raise your hand if you have something to share with us about the Duchess of Malfi.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, Bush.
Your husband was died, and your brothers say for here didn't marry, and she married uh, ما أعرف كيف أقوله الخادم اللي في القصر عنده.
Not a servant. He wasn't a khadim actually. He was
آه
a
هو
minor.
كان يعني
Yeah, he
يس
wasn't a khadim.
رئيس زي كذا إيه.
Yes. He wasn't from within the same rank. Let me put it this way: the fact that she is a duchess, she's a queen, and
Yes, and
uh,
he said she said for here I wanna marry you because he can't say because she is queen.
yeah, he cannot dare say it. Wouldn't dare say it. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. Okay. Shura, thank you so much. Can we have other people? Okay. Um, you guys have a quiz tomorrow, right? Am I correct?
Yes,
Yes.
doctor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
And
doctor.
what
Yes,
time?
doctor, today
What?
and tomorrow.
Okay. Let me just. We have Haya, the one who just entered the room. Please stop entering and going out. If you're using a mobile, please use a desktop or a laptop. Using mobiles is very disruptive because you will have this tendency to come and then go out. We don't have time for that. Okay, so it's tomorrow. I'm in the quiz one. Uh, like I said, it's okay. What time did we say we will have the quiz?
3.
At three.
I think
At
3 p.m.
at 3 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. And how much is it going to cover? What's the material that will cover?
Othello.
Othello.
Othello and the introduction.
Yeah, nice. And we're ready, right? I think we're ready. We have done enough Othello to to be able to navigate the quiz and negotiate our way very well, right? I trust that you guys are on top of things when it comes to Othello, right? You became Othello experts, right?
Inshallah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
What kind of question? That,
I
maybe
guess it's
multiple choice.
some multiple choice questions. I
Thanks,
think.
doctor.
Well, I think. Uh, okay, so of course you know that the coordinator is Ms. Fatma Abel Hassan. So whenever you have questions about the exams and everything in between, you can always direct your questions to her during the master class. I also understand that you guys have a master class every week, right? Okay,
Yes.
so enough procedural stuff, and let's go to the Duchess of Malfi. I'm sure you're excited about the whole experience. You want to know more about this daring individual, especially because the majority of population are um, um, ladies, young ladies here, and I'm sure they relate. Whenever we have female characters, they relate to them. Okay, let me share my slides, and we are on forward chart. Okay, so can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, we're talking about different tragedy. This time around, it's The Duchess of Malfi by John Webster. And how much do we know about John Webster? We know that he is a Jacobean author or dramatist. He was a contemporary to Shakespeare. He was a little bit younger, not a little bit, because what separates them is like 15 or 16 years, which makes Shakespeare way older than John Webster. Are we in for a different climate of ideas? Are we in for a different atmosphere? Not entirely, as a matter of fact. The big umbrella would be the Renaissance, and with the idea and the ideas of the Renaissance, and the idea of liberalism, the idea of opening up to the world, the idea of this shift from religion to whatever is civilian, whatever is secular, and these are ideas that we met in Othello, and we're going to meet in also the Duchess of Malta, where the world has, I mean, the European world at least, has started to open up to and to embrace new ideas. Okay, so we're saying that it is the tragedy of the Duchess of Malfi, and when we say it is a tragedy in a technical way, we know what we're expecting. We're expecting a tragic hero, we're expecting exceptional traits and qualities. We expect a flaw or a weakness in the character, and that would push him or her to commit errors. And some of those errors are fatal and deadly. And of course, we know what happens at the end. The tragic hero falls and falls tragically, unfortunately, at the end. This is what we have seen with Othello, and this is what we're likely to see with the Duchess of Malfi. I don't want to spoil it for you, of course. So it's a tragedy, but this time around, we don't have a tragic hero. What we have is a tragic heroine. So it's the protagonist this time around is not a man. Is the protagonist is a woman. That's why we say tragic heroine. Is this normal? Is this usual in Elizabethan England and in the Jacobean age in the 16th and the 17th century? No. The answer is no. This is quite unprecedented. This is quite unheard of. So having the perspective of women, assigning roles other than the subsidiary to women, this is a big thing. This is something that the audience of the time wouldn't have expected, but it happened. And the Duchess of Malfi is a play that lots of people read or go to the theater to watch. Okay. So it's the tragedy of the Duchess of Malfi, and we said that we're talking about Malfi and the Malfi court, and obviously Malfi is not London, is not England. but it may refer to incidents and events and even practices that were or that took place in London and in England. And we said, or we asked ourselves this question: why? Why do we have English writers using foreign places as their settings? At one point, Othello had at its setting Venice and Cyprus, and this time around, the play is set in Malfi, and Malfi is in Italy. And I told you that the answer is simple. People like Shakespeare, people like Webster, if they want to criticize some of the bad practices of the time, especially if those practices are royal and belong to the royal court, they wouldn't do it in a straightforward way, because they can be investigated and they can be kind of put in jail for it. So the governments of the time were not very democratic and not very welcoming of opposition and different views. So in order to avoid the friction with the government, you would have the setting in Italy, in other places, and when people, or you can even use historical figures and historical places, and when people ask you, say, no, so this is Italy, not London or England. I didn't mean it. If you have understood it the way you understood, you're mistaken, perhaps. So the setting in this play is Malfi, or the Malfi court in Italy. And the protagonist is a duchess. And we said the duchess would be the equivalent of a queen in England or in English. So what are we doing? What is it that we're talking about? We're talking about love and marriage in the Malfi court. Okay, so who do we have? We have the Duchess, who is the queen of the land. She has two brothers who are obviously helping her govern and run the country. And she has, of course, courtiers and people who work in the royal court. Among them would be people like Antonio, Bussola, and others. So if Othello is a tragedy, and it is a tragedy about forbidden love and about forbidden marriage, the Duchess of Malfi is as much about just that. It is also about forbidden love, and it is also about forbidden marriage for other reasons. I mean, if Othello was about forbidden love, because this kind of love was cross-culture, was interracial, and this is obviously not allowed, or was not allowed. The Duchess of Malfi is or has or features forbidden love and forbidden marriage. Not because it was interracial, but it was inter class, if you like, where you have people belonging to two different classes, and they decide, or no, one of them decides to get married to the other. And obviously, this is again not acceptable because of the hierarchies that we spoke about. In Othello, you have the hierarchy of race and the hierarchy of color. In the Duchess of Malfi, you have the hierarchy of rank or class, where you have people on top of the class, and you have people in the middle, and you have people who are at the bottom of the class. So what happens if people on the top decide to get married to people at the bottom? This is obviously not accepted. And this is what the whole hustle is about. Having the Duchess of Malfi deciding to get married to somebody who is from the low classes. Again, according to the hierarchies of the time and the established order of the time, this is disruptive of the chain of ranks, the levels that we have. And obviously, she's not doing something that people would accept. And what happens is that she she will be she will pay the price of that. This is transgression. This is going against the established order, and this is no small thing. She has to pay for that. So while Shakespeare's focus in his tragedy of love was on race, Webster's focus is on class and rank or rank. Remember, we also said that we have, this time around, we have a heroine, which is female or hero. So hero is male or heroine is female. And like I said, this is quite unheard of and unusual. What other parallels and correspondence do we have between Othello and the Duchess of Malfi? We also have the character of the villain. In Othello, we had Iago, and this time around, we have Bussola. Bussola is the villain of the piece. How different and how similar, this is something that we're going to talk about. Very important also to refer to the fact that one of the brothers of the Duchess is also a villain, and this villain is Ferdinand. So you have two villains, and obviously they are more complex than the very straightforward, self-confessed villain in Othello, Iago. Okay, so the basic idea and the core idea would be that we have the heroine who decides to go against the wishes of her aristocratic family and get married to somebody below her. And this is, of course, is not without consequences, dire and negative as they are. But what is interesting about the play and all those plays that we have seen is that normally the important characters, the hero and the heroine, and if there are other important characters, their appearance gets delayed. You don't see them right from the very first scene, the first act, the first moment. No, they are kept for a while for good reasons. Sometimes for suspense purposes, in order to raise our expectations and in order to keep us on our toes about them. This is one thing. And also sometimes for dramatic reasons. I mean, the writer is trying to build enough consensus about them. He wants us to know more about them so that when we see them, we appreciate the fact that they have eventually appeared. And we sometimes, when he talks about them, and talks about them in a nice way, and then they do something good, Yeah, you yourself say, yeah, I knew that he did this because he deserved, he earned it. He did something good, and he deserves or what is given to him, for example. So what happens in specifically in the Duchess of Malfi is that the Duchess wooing of Antonio, wooing means courting. I mean, approaching somebody and offering love and vows of love to him. So the Duchess wooing of Antonio does not begin until we are in line 365. So why do we have to wait such a long time for this crucial episode? Uh, because until we reach this stage, we will have known enough about Antonio, so that when the bombshell falls, um, which is the fact that the Duchess decides to get married to him, we're not totally surprised. The only surprise would be that because they belong to two different ranks and two different classes, she's high and he is low. But you would ask, does he deserve it? Does he deserve to have this kind of love and in this eventual marriage? The answer would be yes. He earned it. From what we have heard about him, from what we have seen about him, when we saw him in action, doing things and talking about things until line 365 or 365. So there are purposes and reasons as why somebody like um, Antonio is given a bigger space, and someone like the Duchess is perhaps kept until later. So when we meet her and we start to see her talking to Antonio in a loving way and asking his hand in marriage, we wouldn't be so surprised. So clearly, by the time the marriage unfolds on stage, we are in possession of a good deal of information about the dramatic world in which it is taking place. So we're giving context. We're giving context about what will eventually lead to the marriage between the two. Remember how the play opens. Remember this exchange between Antonio and his friend Delio. We get to know that Antonio and Delio are courtiers, people who work in the royal court. They are not um, royal family members. No, they are not. They just work. It's a job. They assist with this and that. They are more or less like diplomat, but they are of low origin. When we meet Antonio for the first time, we get to know that he was on a visit to the royal court of France, and there he had the opportunity to see for himself how the royal court in France is totally different from that of Malfi. And he started to expand on this idea that the French royal court is an ideal and a perfect royal court where the king is surrounded by good advisors rather than corrupt ones. Um, Again, we're saying that Antonio is given the opportunity to talk, is given the opportunity to kind of share with us his insights about things, and that would make us as audience, would make us like him. We get to know more about him and his insights and his good sense and judgment and everything in between. So again, this is a conversation between Antonio and Delio, where Antonio is giving his insights about the French royal court because he was on a visit over there. And through the conversation, he starts to make those comparisons between the French royal court and the Malfi royal court. So Antonio admires the French court for its lack of corruption. They are not bad over there. They are not corrupt. And he also refers to especially the character of the king and how the king um, is how the king.
How the king.
Can you mute your mic, Lazama? And the king is very serious over there in the French court, and he doesn't surround himself with bad counselors. And he takes it that what he does is divinely inspired. Whatever good he does to his kingdom is divinely inspired. He is supported by God. Again, if you're talking about the French court and you're saying nice things about it, so you're in an indirect way making comparisons between this royal court and the Malfi. Whatever he said about the French court, I mean Antonio, is meant to say that the Malfi royal court is not. So if the French royal court is good and good counselors and a noble king and everything, so the Malfi royal court is the complete opposite. And then he refers to a very interesting idea. He says that if the court is good and healthy, the whole country becomes good and healthy because the king will take correct decisions that would influence and affect the entire nation. He says if the royal court is corrupt and is bad, it can infect the entire nation and the whole country struggles and suffers. Again, we're talking about a French king who is wise and truthful and has honest counselors and advisors. They don't flatter the king, and the king wouldn't allow them to flatter him. What they give the king is candid and truthful advice about the state of the nation. What do you know? What does this reveal about the character of Antonio? It reveals what he says. Reveals a great deal about how good he is. Even the language that he is using is very distinctive. The analogies and the comparisons that he is making are also very distinctive and very remarkable. Especially one very interesting analogy and comparison that he makes, a long one, between royal courts and a common fountain. And we spoke about that at one point. We said that a royal court is exactly like a common fountain. The fountain, for those who don't know, was the only source of water. In the past, they didn't have water taps back home. Water supply was not as close as it is now. All you need to do is to kind of turn on the water tap and you have water in your house, right? We don't have, or they didn't have that. In order for you to secure water and to get water, you have to go to the public fountain or the common fountain, perhaps in the center of the city or I don't know where else. So it was a common thing. Everybody share the same fountain and everybody is given access to this kind of water. So if we have a common fountain, we need to make sure that this common fountain has clean and pure water. People try to make sure that it's not Um, it doesn't have insects creeping through and sneaking into the fountain. It doesn't have. It doesn't get polluted or anything else. So because if it gets polluted and if it's not clean, it's going to affect the people and it's going to poison them, and some of them may lose their lives because of the dirty water. So what Antonio is doing here is that he is comparing the royal court to a common fount. So if the royal court is clean and if there are good people over there, it's exactly like having a clean common fount. Correspondingly, if the royal court is corrupt and bad, so it's exactly like having a poisoned or a poisoning common fountain that has insects, that has dirt and bad things. So that's a very powerful analogy, if you ask me. Um, so this is what he exactly says. Considering duly that the prince's court, prince here means king or royal court, is like a common fountain, whence should flow pure silver drops in. He says that this common fountain, um, this royal court should only have water that is silver, that has silver drops. Pure means clean. Um, Again, the common fountain is something that everybody drinks from, so they need to make sure that it is pure. But if it is poison, um, it will infect the whole nation, and lots of people will die for it. So this is exactly what he wants the royal court to be like, to be like a pure and clean common fount. Um, Obviously, the royal court of Malfi is anything but. It's not. It's not this pure common fountain. It is a royal court that is full of poison and disease, um, in the sense that you have flattering sycophants, people who always flatter people in high places, and they are obviously self-seeking and selfish. Um, and that's one reason why the Malfi court is bad and corrupt. Again, what is interesting about the speech of Antonio about the royal courts and the common fountain is that he is using religious register. He uses religious words in order to make it sound or seem that this is also what God wants. I mean, God wants and religion wants royal courts that are not corrupt. This is, and that the government is normally, or good government is inspired by God and religion. Um, Again, this is also maybe a reference to what kings at the time used to believe. They believe that they are supported by God and that they represent God on earth. So Antonio finished his speech, and we have Busolo or Busola entering with the cardinal. The cardinal is the brother of the Duchess, and Busola works for them, but he is not officially appointed in the royal court. So they hire him, especially the cardinal and the other brother, and we get to know that Busola is hired to do the dirty work. If the cardinal wants to perhaps kill somebody, he would hire Busolo to do it. Um, Again, they walk into the stage and they start to talk, and we get to know through Delio. Delio tells Antonio, I know this guy, I know Busola, and I know that he has just come out of prison for a murder that he committed, and this murder, people say, was committed at the request of the cardinal. So the cardinal, remember, is um, a royal family member, and he helps his sister, the Duchess, I mean, run the country. So if we are told that the cardinal is hiring people to kill other people, obviously we're talking about a corrupt royal court. So as you can see, the powerful here, those who are in high places like the cardinal. So instead of surrounding themselves with wise and candid counselors, they hire men to commit crimes for them or on their behalf. Sad. Okay, so what is even worse would be the fact that the cardinal is a religious authority, the fact that he is also um, so he's a royal family member, and he is also a man of religion. He's a clergy member of the clergy with their known clothes. So again, this is also that makes it even worse. The fact to be a man of God, to be a member of the clergy, and you allow yourself to hire other people to do harm to other people. So the church here is used, and the power of the church, the power of being a churchman, is used for criminal ends. Um, Again, this is, yeah, it may seem that this is happening in the royal court of Malfi, but it has references to what used to happen in England at the time under King James I. King James I was not the best of all possible kings. He was also corrupt and bad. He ruled for 10 years, and obviously, Webster is referring to things or bad things that used to happen during the reign of King James I. So King uh, James Court was infamous for its profligacy. Profligacy means that he used to spend too much money, and he used to spend too much money on bad things. I mean, there was a lot of corruption. He used to shower his favorites with money, positions and jobs, and even privileges. He was so extravagant, spending too much money on unnecessary things. Um, so again, that would show you that it's the play is also political. It may be set in Italy, but it also refers to bad practices back home in England. With the appearance of Posola, one of the villains of the play, we have the character of the malcontent, or the malcontented character. And the malcontented character is always there in revenge tragedies. Remember that we said that the Duchess of Malfi is a tragedy, but obviously um, it's not just another tragedy. It is a revenge tragedy. And when I say revenge tragedy, I mean that people are going to take revenge. Um, and obviously, you take revenge when you're angry, when sometimes you have reasons for this kind of revenge. And taking revenge also would take you out of the cycles and spheres of civilization, because people normally settle their differences if they are civilized and civilian. They settle their differences by talking, by opening up, by going to court, but not by taking matters into their hands. Again, taking matters into their hands would be a sign that civility is not given a chance. It's a sign of corruption. So, among other things, the Duchess of Malfi is a revenge tragedy. And one core element of the revenge tragedy is the malcontent, the character of the malcontent. It's a feature that gets repeated always in revenge tragedies. And the malcontent is presented here through the character of Busol. So what does the malcontent do in a play? What's the function? You normally have the malcontent thriving and appearing in plays where there is talk about decadent and corrupt courts, in courts where the rulers are irresponsible and often criminal. So the malcontent, contented character, comes in order to expose the deficiencies and the weaknesses of the status quo, creating a logical space for that. Those deficiencies would create a logical space for the malcontent. So what are the features of the malcontent? The malcontent is a character who is consumed with disgust at the corruption and stupidity of courtly society, and who vents his spleen by railing against it. So he's not happy because it's mal and it's content. If you're contented, it means that you're happy with things. But if it's malcontent, it means that you're not happy. So what is it that the malcontented character is not happy about? He is not happy about the corruption and stupidity of the courtly society, and he rails against them. He criticizes them and the royal members very harshly. So again, in the Duchess of Malfi, the role of the malcontent is played by Busol. So what does he say at one point? And I'm talking, of course, about Busol, the malcontent. He first of all attacks the cardinal and Ferdinand. These are the two brothers of the Duchess. And he says in one of his soliloquies that they preside over a courtly environment where loyal service, no reward, where only flattering panders prosper. He's saying that in this atmosphere where the cardinal and Ferdinand operate, if you serve them well and genuinely, and you're a good advisor to them and everything, you don't get reward. Who gets rewarded instead? It's the flattering panders, those flatterers, those bad counselors. Again, what we get to know about Busola, that his language is also extraordinary and colorful and energetic, in spite of the fact that he is low class and low born. Okay, so according to Busola, the brothers of the Duchess are scavengers and insects. And he has nothing but contempt and disdain for them, again, because of their corruption and everything. So as you can see, we have seen Antonio, who is low-born, and we also have Busola, who is also low-born. They are very articulate and eloquent, but they are still low class, and they are not allowed to move up at least up until this moment, because they cannot, because they are low class. They should stay there. And obviously, the two of them show us the idea of patronage. Patronage means that you may be low born, but you would need the help of people in high places if you want to get up and become something different. Again, within limits. You are not allowed to be another king or another queen, for example. No, but you can get promoted up to a certain level. So again, why do we have people like Busola in the play? We have them because they allow us to examine class relations in this highly stratified society, in this society that believes very much and very powerfully in the idea of hierarchies, in the idea of classes and levels. So Busola's role, among others, would be to kind of satirize the patronage system or the existing patronage system that which only rewards todying rather than merit. They don't allow people to go up if they are good and deserve, but they only allow people who are flattering them. Again, we're still talking about Busola, the malcontented character. Um, um, if it's Busola that is speaking and full stop, we may so far we may believe him, but we would need confirmation that he is good and that he is criticizing the government for good reasons. But we still have Antonio, and we now trust Antonio from what he said about the difference between an ideal court and a real court and the French courts. We now have some knowledge and some appreciation of his good judgment. So when he comes and tells us about Busola, we may believe him. So what does Antonio say about Busola? Yet I observe his railing is not. I observe his railing is not simple love or piety. Indeed, he rails at those things which he wants, would be as lecherous, covetous, or proud, bloody or envious as any man, if he had means to be so. He says, I'm not deceived by what Busola is saying. I know that he is criticizing the government and the government for its corruption and everything, but I am telling you guys that he's not doing it for the love of piety. He's not a pious individual. He's not sincere in his criticism. Uh, um, and he's saying that if he's given the opportunity to be as corrupt and as bad, if he's given the opportunity to be in those high places, he will or he would do the self same thing. He's saying that he is an envious individual. He's doing this criticism for his own personal reasons because they do not allow him to go up and become one of them. So once he becomes one of them, he's going to be exactly like them. So he's not, I mean, what Antonio is saying is that Busola is not sincere in his criticism. Okay. So this is Busola. Busola is actually somebody who is torn uh, um, between being aware of the social and moral weaknesses and of the patron system and longing for social advancement. He is. It is true that he's criticizing the system, but he wants to be a part of it. See. And then there is more talk about Busola and how he criticizes and attacks those who say no all the time in the court. Again, he wants to be part of them. He wants to enjoy this material prosperity that they enjoy. Okay, that would bring us to, or I mean, the character of Bussola sometimes and his behavior may invoke the character of Iago. Um, both of them are disgruntled servants, unhappy servants. They serve people who are higher than them, but they are not happy about it. But perhaps Bussola is more philosophical in his anger and in his frustration, as we're going to see. He's not as simple as Iago. Iago is a self-confessed rogue. He knows what he does, and he is not philosophical about it. He knows that he is bad in it. Bussola has this um, complexity to his character. I mean, sometimes you admire him for his insights and his wisdom, and some other times you feel um bad, and you feel and you become very critical of what he does.
He like a doll by brothers of the Duchess.
What
He
he
like
what?
يعني like a doll يعني زي
Yeah,
الدمية.
yeah. Not really, because he knows what he's doing, and he gets money. Um, um, the problem with Busula is sometimes we have this fluctuation towards his character. We have this ambivalence. We don't know whether to feel good for him or feel bad about what he does. Because, I mean, he tells you that if I was given the opportunity, I would have been good and everything. So again, he's not as direct and as straightforward as Iago. And our judgment is again is not as straightforward as and it's not uh, as easy as our assessment of the character of Iago. Um, okay, this is not the one. So again, we're still in Act 1. We're still talking about marriage for love, the marriage that we're going to see between the Duchess and Antonio. The Duchess is on top of the ladder, on top of the hierarchy, and Antonio is at the bottom as a low pool. So what do we expect the family to, how would be or what would be the reaction of the family? And by family here, I mean the family of the Duchess, and the only family that we know for the Duchess would be the Cardinal and Ferdinand, her brothers. Again, they are against in any marriage. They are against any marriage that the sister or their sister may think of. So they are against the idea of her getting married in the first place because they know that whoever is going to get married to her is going to take part of the responsibility of ruling the dukedom or the kingdom. And this is going to take away from some of their privileges. So they are fearful that if she gets married, somebody is going to take over and they lose the privileges and the benefits that they now have. This is one thing. They also talk about the idea that she's a woman, and according to them, they have low opinions of women at the time. They believe that she may uh, um, do something wrong. I mean, she may get married to a wrong person in the sense that he may be less than her in rank. She may get married to somebody who is not high class. And this is, according to them, is a problem because this is tarnishing and spoiling and destroying the reputation of the family. Um, so this is what we mean by family opposition. So both brothers seem to be worried that their widowed sister will succumb to temptation and undertake a marriage that damaged the family honor. They believe that she can marry the wrong person, and if she gets married to the wrong person, somebody who is low, that can be damaging of the family. Um, so according to them, no, she shouldn't get married in the first place. Again, from their opposition, we can get to know more about the attitudes towards women at the time. Again, they also refer indirectly to the idea that she's widowed. And obviously, she's a young lady, and they are referring to the fact that, yeah, she got married once. She wants to get married at whatever cost. Um, and the cardinal even is quote saying that, yeah, it is true that she tells us that she will never get married, but this is not true. He tells her that uh, he says that widows' vows or promises never to remarry commonly last no longer than the turning of an hour glass. He says, yeah, you may be, you may tell us that you'll never marry, but this promise expires in an hour. So you get married after an hour. See?
Yes.
Mm. Again, there is also this reference to traditional and legal issues involved. Like at the time, women had this kind of guardianship. They are not left on their own, dealing with their own business and affairs in an independent way. No, they need the legal support and the legal guardianship of men. So if a woman is married, she is under the patronage of her husband. If she's not married, it's her brothers and her father, if he is around, who take care of those illegal issues. So she's moving from one guardianship to another. So they know it. They know that all her legal affairs and all her money will be under the control of the one she gets married to. Um, Again, they are worried about. They are worried about the benefits and the privileges that they now have, that they may be taken away from them should she gets married.
And because she is young.
And she's also young and everything, yes. Um, and then, of course, they cite things that are not true about, like I said, they say family honor. We were trying to make sure that she's not getting married to the wrong person and then tarnish and destroy our honor. But this is not true. There is obviously nothing wrong with a second marriage. It's not dishonorable, but they make it seem so because of their vested interest, because they have their own agendas. Um, let's stop on this. Let's have a 10-minute break, and then when we come back, we can continue. Okay, everyone?
Okay, doctor.
I'll see you in 10 minutes, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. طيب
Yes,
يلا
doctor.
ممتاز. So are you enjoying it? What do you think of the Duchess of Malfi so far? Good? Bad? None of the above? All of the above? What do you think? If we're
Good. And it is
Dima,
clear and
what do you
easy.
think? Do you think it's better than Othello, or what do you think? If you have a
It
favorite.
is more.
Let me
It
ask you
is.
this. If you are alone on a desert
Mm.
island, so which one would you take with you to read? The Duchess of Malfi or Othello?
I think
The
Othello,
Duchess.
because I like the about race stories. It is more fun for me.
You mean this one, the Duchess,
Othello.
or Othello?
No,
Othello.
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 Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Somebody else wanted to say something.
Yes,
Yeah, Bandar.
about your question, I think I like to read Othello.
Othello. More. Why?
The- it's action and normal action
Mhm.
and near to reality.
Okay. Nice. Anybody else? Nobody went for the Duchess of Malfi, Aini? Okay, wait and see. You may like it. We're not halfway through yet, so
I think
you'll yeah,
all
Bushra.
of it same the story.
So you're going
Because
to
there
take
is
the
there is
you'll take the two plays with you on the desert island?
yes too.
Okay. ماشي. Yeah, let's go on. Okay. So this is again this argument between the family members. It's the two brothers and the Duchess, and they are trying to convince her that marriage is not in the best interest of any one of them. And this is Ferdinand talking to her, is saying, "You are a widow. A widow is somebody whose husband is dead. You know already what man is, and therefore let not youth, high promotion, eloquence." Um, he says, I mean, you were married already, and you know how it feels to be married. I feel bad. Okay. And he says that you shouldn't be deceived by youth. You want somebody who is young, somebody who speaks very well. They are trying to make her feel that they want to protect her. Obviously, they don't. This is not what they aim at. Ferdinand is telling her that you may be deceived by the eloquence and the good language of somebody, his youth, the fact that he may be. He says you shouldn't be doing this for those reasons. Um, and this is obviously very demeaning. It means that they are dominating, or they are trying to exercise dominions and control over her, which means, and this is also insulting because they deal with her as if she is a child, as if she is somebody who doesn't know what is good and what is bad and everything. Again, there is this concern and this obsession with high class and high blood. By high blood, he means noble blood. He's trying to say that one of the things that we're fearful of would be the idea that you may get married to the wrong guy, somebody who is not as high-blooded or as noble as we are. He's afraid that you will fall into the arms of a lower class man. And again, this is a prophecy because she is going to get married to somebody who is lower than her, somebody who is of humble birth and origin. And then the cardinal is given some space in which he expresses his fears and concerns. He's saying that when shall our blood, the royal blood of Aragon and Castile, be thus attainted? Again, it's this fear that uh, cross-class marriage may happen, and that can be, you know, kind of destroying the family honor. So this is two things. It's class insecurity upon their part, and it is also um, perhaps an indication that we're seeing um, levels of social mobility happening at the time. Again, we're talking about a class-fixed society. Class fixity is very important. No room for social mobility. You can't go up, and if you go up, you have to face the consequences of this. Going up or trying to go up, or going down even, is a transgression, is posing some kind of threat and a challenge to the established order, and normally it doesn't go without punishment. So as we can see, if the Duchess goes ahead with her plans and gets married to somebody who is lower to her, this is, of course, going to leave the whole country, according to them, in a state of crisis. Um, and this is also disruptive of the social hierarchy, um, and the idea of nobility and ranks and stuff like that. Okay, so as we can see, the brother's attitude to the Duchess' marriage or marrying again is not only about their ideas about women, but is also motivated by their ideas about class boundaries and the nature of marriage itself. So according to them and according to the time, marriage is a union between a man and a woman, which should be chosen not by the individual, but by the family, and not for reasons of love, but with a view to enhancing family power and maintaining elite exclusivity. Yeah, that sums up everything. This is what happened with Othello, and this is what is happening here. Marriage is a union between a man and a woman, but who decides this kind of marriage? It's not Othello, and it's not the Duchess of Malfi, but the family itself. And why would people get married? Not out of love, but because their families try to enhance their powers and to maintain elite exclusivity so that boundaries are not crossed. So high, you get married to high, low, you get married to low. Uh, Again, so if we're talking about a marriage approved and blessed and also arranged by the family, you're not talking about you know, um, this marriage ideal that is based on mutual love. Yeah, you don't have this. Love is not a part of the equation here. And then we move on to the character of Antonio once more. Um, so what we know is, yes, the Duchess is planning a second marriage, and she's planning to get married to a commoner. A commoner is a low-born individual, not high class. And then the one that she's going to choose is obviously Antonio. And we said that that's why Antonio is given big spaces in which he talks a lot, in which he exercises some of his talents, the things that would eventually endear him to us as readers. So Antonio is depicted in terms of his well-developed and credible political ideas. He is shown as um, politically savvy. He knows about politics. I mean, he has very good judgment, and we have seen him. We tried him when he spoke about the French royal court. We have seen him giving his take and his assessment of the character of Busolo and also the rest of the family. Again, you would ask, why do we have Antonio giving us his take and assessment of the different characters? Why does, the dramatist give him this space? Again, uh, the dramatist is trying to tell us that he has good views, that he is well educated, in spite of his being a lowborn, so that when she gets married to him, you don't feel surprised or too surprised. Let me put it this way. Yeah, it is true that he is of humble origin and birth, but he still has a considerable amount of authority when it comes to knowledge and expertise and skills. So, as you can see, in this play, Antonio is treated with considerable respect. He is not only allowed to enlighten the spectators as to the natures of the play's main characters, but his merit is also emphasized when he is announced the winner of, like they have this kind of game in which people, kind of uh, play with swords, and he showed his skill in that. So as you can see, the writer is trying to invest the figure of Antonio, the steward, with so much authority. Um, Again, perhaps he is trying to tell us that he deserves to be chosen for this kind of marriage, and also to tell us that it's not uh, any more about um, birth. Um, when people get rewarded for things that they do, it's not because they have this because of their families and their rank. It's because they earn the admiration and love of other people. They work for it. It's merit this time around rather than birth. Okay, so Antonio obviously tells us a great deal about the Cardinal and Ferdinand, and what he says is true. Again, it all talks about this idea of social and political rottenness or corruption. And also he sees through them, and he knows that what they are showing is not what they have inside. They may seem concerned about family honor and the country and stability of the country, but deep down they are rotten, they are bad, and they have their own hidden corrupt agendas. So, and this is an example. Let's see what Antonio is saying about the cardinal, for example. According to Antonio, while the cardinal may play the role of a fellow when in company, underneath he is a melancholy churchman, given to inveterate plotting against his enemies, and not averse to priding his way to the top of it. This is very serious. He says the cardinal may seem a brave individual from inside, and very courageous and everything, but deep down, I know that he is hiding something. He is a melancholy churchman. He is given to anger and sadness, and he is ready to plot against his enemies. And he also uses bribes, money to win the favors of other people. So this is a very bad um, view, but it is true, of course. And then he moves on to talk about Ferdinand, and he says that he acts the part of a Sufi Renaissance prince. You may feel that he is liberal and he's advanced, but down below, beneath the surface, lies a most perverse and turbulent nature. He says that this guy is trouble, is not psychologically stable. Uh, and he says that you cannot really trust him. So as you can see, and over time, we're going to see that what Antonio said about the two brothers is true. So through Antonio, the play identifies both brothers with a talent for dissimulation. They are actors. I mean, as we can see, Antonio is saying that they are great actors and pretenders. They show us something, but deep down, they are totally different. They want to control and dominate others. They are bad and corrupt and everything. And then we come uh, to what Antonio thinks of the Duchess. Um, this is again, remember that Antonio is given a space, a big space, and in which he talks about the different characters. And what he says is correct for the most part. That's why people later, when she decides to get married to him, yeah, we know this guy. He is wise, he is skillful and everything. So what does Antonio say about the Duchess? He says that she's a paragon of womanhood. She's a model when it comes to uh, women. She is an example that every woman should follow. And he is saying that she is totally different from her brothers because she's not corrupt like them. And he says, when she speaks, for example, she's very enchanting, very fascinating. Um, and when he speaks about her beauty, he says she is as lovely as it gets, to the extent that her looking at her can cure paralysis. You know what paralysis is? If you're paralyzed, if you have paralysis, shalal yani, you can be cured if you look at her. See, this is of course a bit of an exaggeration, but it tells you that she was something when it comes to beauty. So Antonio goes on and stresses her virtues, the fact that she's a virtuous individual, and especially her chastity, that she's pure and clean and innocent. Uh, And again, he exaggerates and he talks more about her beauty and how divine this kind of beauty is. She's more or less like an angel, according to him. So, according to him, the Duchess is a model for other women to imitate and emulate. It is true that you may feel that he is exaggerating and this is excessive. Um, but from what he says, you can feel later when she decides to get married to him that he was secretly in love with her. But he wouldn't be able, of course, to go and tell her that I love you because she's a queen and he is a commoner. Okay. So the perhaps the writer is trying to say that she didn't get married to him by forcing him. No, he has this kind of love for her, but he wouldn't dare tell her about it. Again, there is talk about the Duchess herself and how she's presented and the amount of liberalism and independence in her character. Uh, and how society at the time used to look at this kind of marriage. And the stereotypes that were prevalent and widespread over there about the highly sexed widows, um, and how this kind of marriage to Antonio was depicted as willful, wanton, and irresponsible. Do you agree? Of course, we don't agree with this. We don't agree. She is uh, um, very, from what we know, that she's very dutiful. She is very responsible. She takes matters into into her hands when there is a reason. So, according to the society of the time, she is violating norms of femininity in the final episode of Act One. Again, the roles are going to be reversed. What is even more is that she is going to go and propose marriage to Anthony, which is something that we're not used to even in the modern times. Even in the modern times, you don't expect the girl to go and propose marriage to the man or to the boy. So in this sense, she is even more or even bolder than Desdemona, who only hints to Othello that she would welcome his love and courtship. So we're still talking about the Duchess. Uh, the Duchess is a very practical and pragmatic woman. Uh, and she is very knowledgeable about what society thinks of second marriage, of women in general. And she goes about telling her brothers what uh, society thinks and which she thinks not correct about women and their sexuality and everything. At one point, she would tell Ferdinand, "Why should only I, of all the other princes of the world, be cased up like a holy relic? I have youth and a little beauty." She's telling him, "Why? Why are you treating me like this? Why do you want me to put me? Why do you want to put me in a closet or a kind of uh, on a place as if I'm a holy relic, as if I am a statue. I have youth and I have beauty, and I want to enjoy life. Why are you denying me those things? So again, she says that I am a woman of flesh and blood. I am capable of love and to be loved. Why are you denying me this? I'm also young. Okay, and she's, like I said, she's also a very um, open individual. I mean, she doesn't obviously hide her feelings. You would think of it. Remember, she's talking with all the powers that she has, also as a lover, as a queen. So she doesn't hide those feelings. And when she speaks to Antonio, she says, "Go, go, brag. You have left me heartless. Mine is in your bosom." She's telling him, "Go and tell the world that you have left me heartless. I am so deepest in love with you. Okay, you have taken my heart," which is an indication that she is so in love with him. Does he deserve this kind of love? Yes. From what we know, yes. He worked for it. He earned it through his good judgment, his experience with politics and everything. So this marriage is based on harmony and mutuality. And the fact that both of them kneel and speak lines that evoke strongly companionate ideas of marriage. So this is a new kind of marriage that is based on mutuality and that is based on genuine love rather than on the acceptance and the blessing of the family. And this may be an influence from and of Protestantism, where with Protestantism, which was a new thing at the time, you work for something and you earn it. You deserve it because you work hard for it. It's those Protestant ethics that people speak about. So again, marriage is no longer about, uh, um, you know, the people in high places, like the family having to approve it and arrange it. No, the two individuals can work for it. Through their merits, they can eventually be together and get married. This is all about mm, marriage and again the consequences of this kind of marriage and the different types of marriages that were available. And obviously, it was one, and the idea that you have to submit to the will of your family. You don't have a choice as an individual. Okay, and we need not lose sight of the fact that the Duchess is in control because she is the Duchess, she is the ruler. She takes matters into her hands, which would kind of contribute to the overall profile that we're making of her. She says at one point, "We now are man and wife, and it's the church that must but echo this." She says, um, two individuals decide, and then comes the formalities. They go to the church to confirm this kind of and document this kind of marriage, but they have to first of all agree on the fact that they want this kind of marriage. So according to her, marriage uh, is a private contract outside the direct control of the ecclesiastical authorities, the church and everything. Here we come to the idea of gender confusion. Of course, you know gender. Gender means man and woman. These are the two genders that we have. And confusion means that you would expect man to behave in a certain way, but he doesn't. And you expect a woman to behave in a certain stereotypical way, but she doesn't. So do we have examples of that? Do we have a man, you expect a man to behave in a certain way, but he doesn't. And you expect a woman to behave in a certain way, but she doesn't. Yes. In our case, for example, who goes, and I'm asking you, who goes to whom and asks him or her, to get married? Uh, in in our
Here assistant. What?
Yeah, it's what we're having here is the Duchess going to Antonio and expressing her love, and then asks him to marry her. Is this normal? Is this normal? I mean, for the girl to go to the
No.
boy? No, this is not normal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Correspondingly, you have the boy Antonio. Did he go and ask her asks her hand for marriage? No, he didn't. He couldn't because
But
she
her
was.
situation is didn't like the girls, the other
Yeah,
girls.
we're talking about gender roles here.
Okay.
The woman has a role, and people expect her to behave in a certain way. And the man has roles, and people expect him to behave in a certain way. What we're saying is that we don't have that. What they are doing is defying our expectations. We expected Antonio, if he is in love with the Duchess, to go to her and say, I love you and I want to get married to you. Did Antonio do this?
Yes, he do.
No,
No,
no, he
no.
didn't. No, he didn't.
Okay.
Okay. So we expect the Duchess to wait for the man, to wait for Antonio to go to her and say, I love you and I want to marry. Did she wait for him?
No, she come
No.
to him.
She comes to him. She goes to him and says, listen, I love you and you should be happy about it and let's get married. This is very strange for the time. What, I mean, even the example, she is the one who places the ring on Antonio's finger. And when he needs in response, she raises him up again. She is the one who places the ring on Antonio's finger. Is that normal? Is that usual?
No, of course
No.
not.
It's the other, it should be the other
No.
way around. Okay.
Yes.
So this is what we mean by gender confusion. Gender confusion in Arabic means لخبطة. هي ملخبطانه. Okay, she's not doing what we expect her to do as a woman, and he's not doing what we expect him to do as a man. Okay, so this is what we mean by gender confusion.
تبادل الأدوار يعني.
Mhm. Sometimes you call it gender reversal, gender roles reversal. Uh, Again, we'll have more talk about that, where Antonio uh, is not the active partner in this relationship. The Duchess does everything. She expresses her love, and she goes about it asking for his hand in marriage. And also, who do you expect to be scared? The Duchess? I mean, the woman, or so obviously they are doing something against the wishes of her family. Who should reassure the other? Who should say, "Listen, don't worry, I'm with you, I support you, and I can do
The
The
anything."
man.
man.
The
The
man,
man.
but that's
But
the other
she
way
is,
around.
yeah.
Antonio feels very scared. He doesn't know how her brothers will react. Um, so he is frightened of the Duchess brothers. He is scared of the Duchess brothers. Um, and actually he is, yeah, it is true that he may be in love with her, but he is looking at the consequences. What happens if they know? What kind of punishment will he receive? Again, a part of this gender confusion project that we're having is the Duchess and her speeches, which are very defined. Defined means that they are very daring and very courageous, and also uh, um, um, she doesn't fear anything. Look at how defined she is. فيها تحدي. She says, if all my royal kindred lay in my way unto this marriage, I would make them my low footsteps. She's saying, if all my family, my royal family, stand in the way of this kind of marriage, um, so it's as if I am climbing stairs, and they are going to be the steps and the stairs that I am using in order to get to this kind of marriage. See? See how daring? This is something that you would expect a man to say, not a woman, but we're not having this.
She's
Um,
a brave. She's a brave woman.
she's absolutely brave, yes. Um, and then she goes on, I mean, completing this profile that we have of her as uh, unusually brave and daring and everything. And she's talking about the argument about her marriage as if she is in a battlefield. She acknowledges and admits that there is um, some kind of danger that she is facing, but she is saying that I'll do everything I can in order to kind of face or meet this danger up and face it head on. Okay, and see one example of how daring, how unusually courageous she's saying, do not think of them. She's talking to Antonio. She's trying to dismiss his fears, and obviously he is very fearful. And she's, do not think of them. All discord without this circumference is only to be pitied and not feared. She's telling him, I feel pity for them. I don't fear them. See? So as you can see, Antonio is presented as helpless and overwhelmed by the course of events. However, she is different. She is the other. She is very assertive. She is very outspoken. She is very daring and courageous. Even Antonio feels that there is a reversal of roles. Antonio himself feels that he is not doing things that he shouldn't do as a man, and she's doing things that she shouldn't do as a woman. He's telling her at one point that these words should be mine. When she tells him, take it easy, we can manage, I'll do this, I'll do that. He tells her, what you're saying should be uttered by me. I should be saying this, not you. See? But he admits it. He acknowledges the fact that she is more powerful, she is more assertive, more outspoken than he is. And this is part of the gender confusion that we've been talking about. I'm afraid I have to stop here. I think, let me ask you a number of questions. So you have the quiz tomorrow. When do we have our midterm exam?
9 March.
March 9, which means so we're having a break next week, no classes next week. So when we meet again, it's going to be what?
مذاكرين.
Review.
Wait, I
The
haven't finished عشان نعمل review. And I'm talking about when we come back from the revision, from the break. Next week is a break. You know that. It's a holiday. So where are we? What is today? Today is the 20th, right? So you
Yes.
will be away for a whole week. So when we meet again, it's going to be Monday, right? So Monday, and then you have the exam on the 9th, right? Okay, so what do we need to do? We're going to meet on Sunday and also on Monday. Okay, on Sunday we're going to finish off the Duchess of Malfi. I could have taken you tomorrow, but obviously you have an exam and you have other things. So I cannot give you an extra class tomorrow. Would you like to take an extra class tomorrow?
Maybe Thursday. الخميس.
خميس بالتالي is it أجازة؟
doctor, let it be
مثلا
tomorrow at
Wait,
12 p.m. I think
Okay.
it's
no, I
good for
can't
me.
because I have two exams tomorrow.
tomorrow. طيب.
So
Can we meet? Okay, can we meet on Thursday?
That's quick.
Yes,
No,
Thursday.
doctor, there is
نعم.
class
Class
masters.
with you.
أنا حد عندي I don't have a master class on Thursday. أصلا الماستر class
No, for
في
the
الأربعاء
for the class.
الأربعاء طيب.
نعم.
I mean same time. There's no problem if we attend at the same time of master class with you, doctor.
يوم الخميس.
Yes.
طيب هو
Yes.
الماستر كلاس is it cancelled؟ الأستاذة فاطمة is she canceling it ولا إيه؟ عشان تالي بداية الأجازة ولا إيه؟
ما بلغتني إلى الحين.
طيب. طيب what time is the master class؟
It's the same time. 10.
طيب why don't we meet at 2 p.m.
Okay, عادي.
ايه رأيكم يا شباب؟
Okay.
طيب احنا what we're going to do is that we're going to finish off the Duchess of Malfi. So when we meet again after the break هنتقابل Sunday and Monday to finish Candide. And Candide and the Duchess of Malfi and Othello دول جزء من ال MTA اللي هيبقى يوم 9. واضح كده؟
Yes.
واضح؟
يعني 3 شابترات يا دكتور هيكون معانا.
yes. نعم. 3 كتب، 3 أعمال. 3 أعمال عندنا Othello, The Duchess of Malfi and كانديد. كانديد يعني light hearted، ف it's easy يعني. متفقين على احنا we're meeting on Thursday at 2 p.m. everyone.
Yes, دكتور إن
Yes,
شاء الله.
Yes, إن شاء الله.
طيب I would like you to put this or to post this on the WhatsApp group. يلا
Okay.
نشوفكم على خير. السلام عليكم.
مع السلامة دكتور.
عليكم
شكرا.
السلام.
Thank you, doctor.